Why does this cost this, but this costs this? Now that we're seeing sub 1K electric bikes on the market, you lot are rightly asking if you should be spending more. Are e-bike companies basically trying to rip us off with more expensive bikes? Today, I'm going to be uncovering the truth about your e-bike purchase. But first, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, then I recommend you do, because we have been working on some really sick e-bike content for your eyes only. So do it. Do it. Do it. Despite the general higher cost than an analog bike, e-bike ownership is officially on the rise. By 2030, the market is projected to be worth over $120 billion globally, with a predicted 77.3 million electric bikes out on the road. Now, this is great news, except for those of you in Amsterdam. My thoughts and prayers are with you all. So to put this into context on a very minute scale, if just 10% of the British population chose to cycle 1 day a week instead of driving their car, 4% of life cycle CO2 emissions of car travel would be eradicated. Oh, I can smell the fresher air with every e-bike purchase. And e-bikes are also great for saving money on petrol and pricey trains. Plus you get health benefits like cardio and potentially reduce your risk of type 2 diabetes. Find out more in this video right here. So let's talk about why they cost what they do, and keep an ear out because I'll be telling you which battery brands to look out for. There's a lot of extra componentry on an electric bike compared to an analog bike. You've got a motor, battery, inbuilt lights and wiring, perhaps some integrated tech for app connectivity and anti-theft systems. But the most expensive piece of the ensemble is the battery. It costs about 30 to 40% of the overall price. Although you can get a few different types of battery, the most popular on the market is lithium ion.
Lithium?
So let's break this down. Inside the battery pack is a collection of cells, 40 or more linked together, operating harmoniously, so one cell doesn't overheat and cause the pack to go out of balance. A bit like when us girls head to the toilets. It's always a group effort, and I swear to God, if Stace does another too many WKDs like last weekend and is head first in the toilet bowl and I'm having to wipe the sick off of her dress, I will lose it. That's kind of like how battery cells work.
Okay.
The higher the quality, the more range you'll get, the longer the lifespan they'll offer, and crucially, the safer they are, which I'll touch on in just a second. But first, let's hear from an expert. So Nick has a lot of experience in dealing with the manufacturing side of e-bikes, and of course, you make your own boost kits, and that in turn has meant that you've had to not only think about quality components, but also trying to make it affordable. So how do you balance the two out?
Yeah, so the cells themselves have a certain cost. You sort of get what you pay for. There are some crazy, like this has got 1 million watt hours capacity, which it doesn't, like it definitely doesn't. There's just a load of made up cells that don't have anything like the capacity they claim. So stick to brand name cells, I think is the answer. They're going to be more expensive, but they will actually last and they will have been tested for their capacity.
Now, I would recommend, if you can, to have a quality cell made by one of the top tier companies. I'm talking Panasonic, Sony, LG and Samsung. They are the big hitters. So if you see any of these, you know you've made a good start. Unfortunately, the rise in battery fires as of late have generally been down to the black market, cheap ass batteries that don't have a battery management system and have been DIY'd on. No BMS means if one cell overheats or even malfunctions, the battery doesn't shut itself down, causing what is known as thermal runaway, aka fireworks, and not the cool kind. It's something very deadly that is so annoyingly very avoidable. While e-bike fires do occur, they represent one of the lowest risks of all forms of transportation. The biggest risk to cyclists is still cars. And interesting fact, if you live in the gorgeous city of New York, despite there being a media frenzy on battery fires right now, well, you're actually 5 times more likely to die on the subway than an e-bike fire.
Well, that makes me feel better.
In fact, I guarantee you'll learn some good tips if you watch our video on battery safety. Get clued up. But stick around because I'm going to share a really easy formula to find out how much it costs to run your e-bike. And the results are They're pretty cool. So we know good batteries are at a higher premium, but when you start to factor in the quality of all the other components, for example, motors, they can start at a few £100s, but that price rises significantly depending on the quality and the type. Hub motors are more popular because it's a budget-friendly option that is generally easier to fit. Rather than needing a specific frame, it can link onto the front or the rear wheel without any major modifications needed. Mid-drive motors are more expensive because, well, it requires a specific frame as it replaces the bottom bracket of the bike. Generally, mid-drive delivers better performance than hub, but I will not go into the details as that could be a whole video in itself, but do comment below if you want me to make a video on that for you. But you can go even deeper with the drivetrain, wheels, frame materials, and brakes quality. Essentially, good componentry will go through a lot of R&D, testing, programming, creating integrated costs that you don't see and generally won't notice because it allows your bike to keep moving and be less prone to simple faults. By the way, my good e-heads, if you're finding this video at all helpful, hit that like button so we can get this to the farthest corners of the internet. And what if you're the kind of person that wants a more techers setup? You know the drill. The more integrated tech features, the more cash it's gonna cost you. Fingerprint recognition, anti-theft systems, smart app connectivity, radars, they all require your hard-earned greenage. You certainly do not need this, just like you do not need that push Taycan. But those who want to be flash, can be. And remember, although e-bikes are growing in popularity, manufacturers don't yet have the mass production facilities like analog bikes have. Mass production means it costs less to make, which means you pay less. But the price does not end when you hand over that plastic. When you buy a product, you want to know there is somebody there. Somebody that is able to help you to assemble your bike and also can be a point of contact after the sale for maintenance, repairs, and that is worth something. Having a human to talk to when things go wrong, it costs the company. So customer service and warranties, it's all baked into the price. The cheaper the bike is, the less likely you're gonna have someone on hand when things go wrong. Having support makes your experience so much better and keeps you out on the roads riding for as long as possible. But I completely empathize that for many, an electric bike, even at the cheapest price bracket, is a really big investment. So please just make sure you do your research, look at reviews, and go for bikes that have common parts so you know you can get them replaced when you need them. But have you ever wondered how much it really costs to run an electric bike? Well, I've got you covered. I have a simple-ish formula that I'm going to share with you that you can use to compare the costs of any electric bike, and you can smugly compare because the results are pretty astounding. Let's use the ever popular Tenways Seago 600 Pro for reference. Now, I cycle about 70 miles-ish a week, and I want you to work that out for yourselves, miles or kilometers, because that will help you factor in how much you're spending with your calculations. But first, you need to work out the kilowatt hour. So remember, we're using the Tenways Seago 600 Pro as a reference, so these numbers are specific to the Tenways. So first up, amp hour, which is 10, times the voltage, that's 36 volts for the Tenways. Then you want to divide by 1000, and that gives you your kilowatt hour. So if my maths is mathing, that is 0.36 kilowatt hours. You then want to times the kilowatt hour by the price per kilowatt hour here in the UK, which is about 34 pence currently, and that is going to give you the price per full charge of an empty battery, which is 0.1224. So just to be clear, amp hour times voltage, divide by 1000, you get your kilowatt hour. Kilowatt hour times price per kilowatt hour equals the cost per charge of an empty battery. You then divide the price per full charge of an empty battery by the range to get your cost per mile. So for me, that would be 0.1224 divided by 70 miles per week that I ride, which equals, okay, I can't even do this number, 0.0019744193548. That is your cost, well, my cost per mile with the Tenways Seago 600 Pro. So if I convert that to cost per week, the Tenways will cost me exactly 13 pence if I were to cycle 70 miles a week, Convert that to a year, and that is, my friends, a whopping £7.18. That, my friends, is minuscule. Now, if you want to find out a little bit more about the Tenways Seago 600 Pro, well, we actually have an affiliate link. If you're interested, head on down to the description below, click the link and bag your own. I've also done a couple of really great reviews, so go check that out. But remember, it's not just about the monetary cost of an e-bike. This is Simon. He's an expert in atmospheric physics and a damn good YouTuber, shining a light on our changing climate. He explains why investing in an e-bike for him has meant multiple savings. So, Simon, when did you get your e-bike?
2 and a bit years ago.
Okay, and why did you get your e-bike?
Well, so if I was, say, taking the bus into the centre of town and back every day, that's like a £5. And with the electric bike, it's pennies that I'm spending. And especially actually in summer, we have a portable solar panel that I use to charge the battery. So it's effectively free. Cycling an electric bike instead of taking a car, then your impact on the environment is significantly lower. I think it's Project Drawdown, which is this amazing project that ranks climate solutions, describes an electric bike as the most efficient motorized form of transport ever invented. Like, it's incredibly efficient from an environmental perspective. So your carbon emissions are so much lower. There is an environmental cost, obviously, when it comes to producing the battery and producing the bike in the first place. But in terms of the cost per kilometer, it's astonishingly low. And so when you want to think about the cost of running the bike, you kind of have to factor in, sure, the monetary cost is this, but also the cost of not running it and running a car instead is so much higher in terms of your impact on the climate crisis, in terms of air pollution, all these other environmental factors.
If you're still here, by the way, you should definitely hit that subscribe button. So look, you've got to view your e-bike purchase as an investment. The upfront cost can be pretty hefty, depending on your budget, but with how much it costs to run compared to, say, a car or even an annual train ticket, there is no competition. Cheaper e-bikes and cheaper parts don't necessarily mean they're bad, but it could be a signifier that you'll be spending more money in the long run. Now, I know there will be some of you ready to tell me how your budget e-bike has been performing for however many years, so do let me know which trusty steed you've got. But now, with all this knowledge in hand, you can get on out there and find the right e-bike that sits in your budget. I've done loads of reviews of amazing electric bikes worth having a look at. So have a nosy around, look at the channel, and I'll see you for the next one.